And we were very successful. To the credit of the unions who worked with us, in 2 short years, that $1.2 million budget deficit grew to a $250,000 surplus. Businesses were moving back in the city, and the city actually received the Governor's Award for Excellence in Fiscal Management, which was something that I was very proud of, considering where we came from. But it was back in 2001, it was during this revitalization that I started to notice changes in the city. I started to notice more blight in our neighborhoods. I noticed more absentee landlords than we've ever had before. Overcrowded apartments. And at the time, I just thought it was the growing pains of a city that was on the right track again. It was my first encounter with illegal aliens when I got called to an apartment, and I couldn't believe what I saw as I walked in. There were 9 mattresses laying on the floor. 9 men were sleeping on the floor. This apartment was not fit for animals, yet alone for human beings to be exploited as they were. There were cockroaches in the refrigerator, and it was absolutely a disgusting sight to see people living like this. And I couldn't understand at the time why illegal aliens would be in Hazleton. We are 2,000 miles from the nearest southern border. Well, this would not be my last encounter. Very shortly after that, on a Friday night in October, which is a big night in Hazleton. It's high school football night. It's when all of our students, our teenagers, go to the game and they would hang out downtown and have pizza and soda. But this Friday night was a little different. While our teenagers were standing on a sidewalk 100 feet from them, Hector Luna, on a drug deal gone bad, shot 2 people, killing one and injuring the other. This terrified our city. Now, Hazleton is a city that might have 1 murder every 7 years, and the 6 years in between, everyone would talk about that murder. So this ruthless homicide in front of our teenagers, again, terrified senior citizens and people throughout the city. And that would not be the last. Over and over and over again, we would witness more crimes, more violent crimes, and more times again, it was illegal aliens who were involved. I remember another incident during a busy lunch hour where there was a domestic dispute, and this person, again, he was here illegally, stabbed his girlfriend multiple times, and then jumped out of the 2nd-story window, landing on top of a Hazleton police officer, injuring him, as his girlfriend stumbled out and collapsed on the sidewalk with the knife protruding out of her stomach. That image will be with me forever. And again, our town was terrorized. And then May 10th, 2006, it was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. A 14-year-old boy was arrested for shooting a gun on a crowded playground. This 14-year-old was here illegally. And when we arrested him, he had his lawyer on speed dial on his cell phone, which I thought was unusual for a 14-year-old. I remember going home that day and telling my wife that I had lost control of our city. I could no longer control what was happening. That I had lost our city totally. The city that I was born and raised in, the city that I loved, a playground that I grew up on. Well, a few hours later, I would get a call from the chief of police. 29-year-old city man was shot between the eyes while his girlfriend stood watching. Our police department worked 36 consecutive hours. Thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money. Hundreds of hours of overtime to apprehend those that were involved in that homicide, that murder. And you guessed it, those that pulled the trigger, again, were 2 illegal aliens. In fact, the shooter was arrested 8 times before he came to Hazleton and took Derek Kishline's life. That one homicide, that one murder, we spent over half of our yearly budget in overtime in making that arrest. A few days later, we would have at the time what would be the largest drug bust in Hazleton's history, closing 2 downtown businesses, and again, more illegal aliens were involved. And the following week, we would have gang-related graffiti that threatened the lives of our police officers, and I've had enough. Enough is enough. I realized that our small budget was being drained by the burden of illegal immigration. Every time we sent a police officer, a fireman, a code enforcement officer, a health officer to an incident involving an illegal alien, it was draining our budget. We arrested another individual for selling crack cocaine on a playground while Hispanic children were on the swings and sliding board. It was a new playground that we had built. It took our detectives 5 hours to determine who he was. He had 5 different Social Security cards. Parents would come to me and tell me they would no longer send their children to the playground. Immigrant parents who moved to Hazleton to get away from the gangs were fearful of going to a playground in Hazleton, Pennsylvania because of the gangs that were trying to recruit their children. We now have identified 10 different gangs in Hazleton, this once safe city. MS-13 is one of them, if anyone is aware of them. They're one of the most violent gangs in America. They came in through El Salvador. They're located they came through the Mexican border, and they're based in Los Angeles. And they're now in 33 states around the country. 30% of the gang members we have arrested in Hazleton are illegal aliens. 30% of the drug arrests in the last 2 years were illegal aliens. And English as the second language, to show the impact that it's having on our small community. English as a second language, in the year 2000, the budget was $500. Today it is $1,145,000. Our classrooms are overcrowded. There are children literally being taught on folding chairs. When I look at this issue so closely, there are so many that want to make this about race, and that's unfortunate. You know, the immigrants that moved to Hazleton came there for a better life. They came there to get away from the gangs, the drug dealers. They came there so that their children would have a better education. But that's not happening. Because of the overcrowded classroom, these children, these new immigrant children that are here legally, that deserve an education, are being pushed along because teachers do not have the time or the resources to devote to these children that need special care, special attention, special help with learning English. They're being cheated and robbed of the very thing that America stands for, opportunity. Opportunity for those that come to this country legally.